What's up, fam? Welcome back to The Highway with Kyle Shutt. I am so excited this week. I got to talk to an absolutely delightful human being, Miss Rachel Haden from That Dog, and so many other bands. Her new band, bLUSH, has a single out right now, and we're going to listen to it. We're going to talk all about it. If you like what you've been hearing on the show, go ahead and deck the halls. Hang up some mistletoe. You do whatever you got to do to make sure you don't miss a single episode. And if you want to go one step further, you can find us at patreon.com/thehighway. For a few bucks a month, you can get early access to new episodes. You can get online guitar lessons from me. You can get some sweet merch. Anything for you people. I love you all so much. And we got to give some shout outs this week. We got Dylan Reed and Max R. They're the ones that hopped on board Patreon this week, and I can't thank you enough for it. We also got to shout out our loving sponsors, Heil Sound, because if you like the way I sound, it's because there's a Heil in front of me. Now that we got that taken care of, I'm ready to get all crushed out with Rachel. Let's do things my way.
The Highway.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks so much for coming down here. I appreciate it. We usually, bring on people that want to talk about their, current projects and stuff like that. I know your latest project, bLUSH, just came out today, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm finally, I'm getting old and I've been trying to do this for a really long time, and I've worked with a lot of different people, and everyone I've worked with has been great, but I've never actually finished anything I've started. That's kind of a theme in my life.
Yeah.
But somehow it clicked with Chris Pepper and me. It just clicked, and it's been going really, really well. I'm grateful that I have friends who have studios who have been helping me out, and I have a lot of support, and I'm really excited about doing more. We've got like 11 more songs that are almost finished, but need more. Like, I need more studio time, and there's just lots of stuff involved that makes the process kind of slow. But we're doing the best we can. Chris is all the way in London, and I'm here, and I like to think of, it's funny, I was talking to my boyfriend earlier because he loves Chris too, and he was saying Chris is like he's like the Paul McCartney. He's just like brilliant. Like, he just has music coming out of him constantly, and he's just always on it, and really, really creative, and has a great ear, and I'm just really blessed to be able to work with him. So
That's awesome that you're still cranking out music after all these years. You've played with so many people. It's unreal. Doing my homework a little bit, because I was a huge fan of That Dog back in those days, and the Weezer track you sang on and stuff. So I knew you had played with Jimmy Eat World, so I'd seen your name kind of pop up in here everywhere. But playing with like Todd Rundgren and like Neil Hamburger and stuff too. I was like, the list just went on and on and on of all the stuff that you've been
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Is it one of those things where you just say yes and just figure it out later?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's one of my favorite strategies.
I mean, it's always through, I get these like, I guess, gigs through, I guess, is the word nepotism? Like, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Sure. Is that more of a, I think that has to do
with your family.
Yeah.
That has to do with family. You came from
a very musical family as well. So
yeah. So nepotism does have to do with it too. I mean, Prairie Prince, who played drums with Todd Rundgren, he let's see. How did I meet? Oh God. Okay, we're recording this, so you're gonna edit, right?
I can polish it up a little bit.
Okay. Okay, because sometimes I lose track. But anyways, yeah. I just meet people through other people, through friends, through family, and that's how it kind of happens. It just sort of happens.
How did it happen in the first place? I mean, I knew, growing up, you were one of the three, triplets that came from a very musical family, because your father was a jazz drummer, right?
Yeah, he's a jazz bass player, upright bass. That's okay.
But was it one of those things where it was a very musical household, and it's always been around you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my dad played bass, and then my brother picked it up, and then I kind of idolized my brother when I was a kid, and my brother Josh, who's got his own band called Spain, and he's also very prolific and writes a lot. And I guess Johnny Cash did a cover of one of his songs called Spiritual. It's a beautiful song. And then my sisters and I play on a recording of it that we did live a couple times, actually, and one time on KCRW, but that was a while ago. But what was the question? Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I just I love hearing where people got, I usually ask people, what made you want to get in a van and just, tell the world goodbye and stuff like that. But when it's your whole life like that, it's just, was there a point when just some kind of event happened when you were just like, what, I'm going to do this. I'm starting a punk band. I'm getting in a van. Goodbye.
Yeah, it was sort of like that. I really idolized my brother a lot, and I wanted to be just like him. And he was playing bass in punk bands in high school. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's so cool. And that's what I want to do. So he somehow, I think he had an extra bass, or he let me borrow his bass. I was 16. And so I just picked up his bass and I started playing, and I was practicing every day. I would just practice and play. And I didn't take bass lessons or anything like that. I was just doing everything kind of just by ear, and just fiddling around with the strings, and trying to understand the sound, and listening a lot to my dad play, and had a lot to do with it too. Like, he was very influential. So one of the bands my brother liked a lot was called the Minutemen, and Mike Watt, who's also a bass player, his bass playing was just incredible. And I was like, I gotta figure out a way to imitate, to just try and emulate what he's doing. Really difficult to do, and I didn't do it, but I tried really, really hard. And it actually helped my skills, my technique, because he plays a lot, like kind of like scales, like up and down, and chords, like lots of chords and scales. And so those were kind of my bass lessons, like just playing to Minutemen albums, and then listening to my dad, and going to see him play, and observing him with his instrument, and then in high school, we went to Crossroads High School, and Anna Warrenker, who initially started That Dog with a couple other different people. It was more of an idea than it was a band. It was actually a name. Like, she came up with the name That Dog before there was actually a band. And then she got some people together, and it didn't work out. And long story short, she knew that Petra and I were singers, and asked us if we wanted to play music with her in her band, and kind of go over some songs that she's been writing on her 4-track. And We said, sure. And so we got together, and Petra and I were still living at home with our mom. This was like senior year of high school. And then like a year after that, I ended up not going to college. I went to SMC, Santa Monica City College, for a while, but I still lived at home. And Anna was going to USC, and I think she was still living at home. We were, I guess, homebodies. But she would come over, Anna would come over with song ideas, and we would just go over songs in my bedroom. And she'd bring her guitar and bring a little amp, and I'd get the bass out, and we would just play these songs. And at the time, I had a boyfriend named Tomas Palermo, who plays in the band at the time called Slug, and they were kind of well known in the LA punk underground. I don't know how you call it, like
the scene.
Yeah, scene, kind of an underground, avant-garde, weird goth scene. And I introduced Tomas to Anna because Tomas had a little indie record label called Magnatone Records, and he was just like thrilled when he heard some of our songs. He said, we've got to release it. And it was just this do-it-yourself, little indie label. And we did a 7-inch on that, and that was our first release, was a double 7-inch on Magnatone, just self-titled.
So your first band was That Dog?
No, my first band, which I was in for maybe 2 weeks, was a band called Caustic, and it was me and one of my best friends in high school. His name was Fred, but he changed his name to Henry, so he goes by Henry, and Baum is his last name. And we were best friends in high school, and he played drums, and then our friend Jules played guitar, and so we played these punk songs that were so cool. They reminded me a little bit of like old Jawbreaker, and it was just fun.
Man,
it was just
awesome.
Really fun. That was my first experience playing, like jamming, with other kids, and that didn't last long at all. But then soon after that, that's when That Dog started forming. That was like 1989, 1990 or something like
way
that.
to knock it out of the park with your first band, if that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It gave me a lot of confidence because that was the first time I actually played bass with a drummer and a guitar player. And so yeah,
I found out about y'all on when MTV would do, I think it's like either Buzz Clips or maybe it's like 120 minutes. They would play the video for Old Timer, and I just devoured anything they would play, like between that and Jawbox, and
I love Jawbox
stuff. So it was real cool to like get into y'all and stuff like that, because I felt like I was the only person that like knew who y'all were for a long time. It wasn't until I moved to Austin. It was like, even though y'all were on MTV and had a record deal and stuff like that, it still seemed like it was kind of underground almost.
Yeah, it was pretty, we were pretty underground. Our friends were making it big, we were playing shows with Weezer and Beck before they became huge, and like we shared the stage with them. I think Beck opened for us once at I can't remember where, like Jabberjaw or something, and
that's wild.
And it was just him and his guitar and his harmonica and his leaf blower, and he just did his Beck's thing, and we'd hang out with him. He was great. He was a good friend of ours, and we collaborated on a lot of different music with him, and there was one song called Steve Threw Up, which I think that's on a 7-inch called Totally Confused. I think I should know that. And we all switched instruments. Anna played the bass, I played the drums, and I think Tony did something, maybe guitar, Beck did guitar, Petrus played violin, and we all just played these songs. It was fun. We were just having fun, you know?
That's awesome, man. What was touring like for y'all back in those days? Like, did you have a van, or was it just like a station wagon kind of thing, or like?
We had a van. We had a friend of ours whose parents had, I can't remember what the model was, but it was just like one of those vans that's not like a van, but it was sort of more homey, you know, like it was sort of like a mini, what do you call them, trailers? But it wasn't
like a camper van kind of, or something.
A camper van, yeah. It was like a very miniature camper van, and it was really cozy inside. It had like pleather seats, and the back folded out into a bed, and then we made our own little space for each of us, and we all, you know, we were like birds in a nest, you know, making our own little spots, and it was a lot of fun, but it was hard, you know. I mean, our van would break down, we'd have to, you know, flag people down for help to change our tires, and we drove in snowstorms. And one time we were caravanning with Beck, and there was a snowstorm, and we saw Beck's van. We were in back of Beck's van, and we saw his van start to swerve off to the left of the road, and we honked our horn. We had walkie-talkies. We were like, wake up! We were afraid that the guy driving was falling asleep or something. But there was some treacherous moments, but really great moments of just, it was like a big family, you know. And yeah, that's what kind of happened. Like when we're in bands, we kind of break into what do you call it? You know, like Tony became the dad, Anna was the mom, Petra and I were the kids, but sometimes the roles would switch, you know, and it was a lot of fun, but a lot of hard work, and a lot of what's the word? I can't, my brain is like, I just got off of work in a cubicle. I just got a job. God. So I've been working on a computer and basically doing nothing.
Just fries your brain all day.
Yeah, just my brain is just fried. So, so forgive me.
No forgiveness needed. No. But that's rad to have that insight into those years, because it was different back in those days. Just touring before cell phones and computers and shit. I never knew two bands that had walkie-talkies, though. That's incredible.
Yeah, we made walkie-talkies, and it's so big before cell phones and no texting. And I remember, like, I don't know, we made friends with a lot of different bands from all over the country, you know. We had friends in Seattle, Portland. There was a band called Henry's Dress that we played with. They were really cool. And then Amy, the drummer, Amy and I, like, I had a little crush on the drummer. And so she would write me these love letters, but she would fax them to our hotel.
Oh my God.
So I would get like this huge fax, and it was like the Bible-sized fax from this girl. You know, it was fun. It was lots of fun.
Those are the years to do it, for sure.
Yeah.
It's still like getting back in the van now. I'm pushing 40 now, but yeah, just thinking of the band that I'm in has been around almost 20 years, and I'm just like, oh God, it used to be so much easier.
Yeah. I know, now when I think about it, it's like my back hurts, and I don't know if I could sit for that long of amount of time without getting like a pain in my foot, you know, just stuff like that. Like, as you get older, it's not as easy. Although, Todd Rundgren, he's still touring, and sometimes he's in a bus and sometimes he's in a van, and he doesn't complain. He's going to go till he's 100. I mean,
That's
he's
insane.
like,
I bet he has some stories.
Oh yeah, he's. I don't know his stories, but yeah, I'm sure he does have stories. But yeah, that was fun too.
That's
playing
wild.
with him.
But speaking of like pre-internet days and everything like that, I grew up in a real small town, and so MTV and the radio was kind of like that was my my window into counterculture and what was going on and what I wanted to do, and but I didn't. There was, so many of these bands were just so mysterious to me. All I ever saw was their videos. I didn't get to see anybody in concert, hardly ever. Nobody came through our town. And so once, the internet, it sort of through the years became a treasure trove of information, started digging around and read that, because I always knew that you sang on Weezer's I Just Threw Out the Love of My Dreams, but I didn't know what that song was, where it fit into the the timeline and everything, or the story behind it, or anything like that. I had no idea about the songs from the Black Hole project that eventually morphed into Pinkerton until like years and years later, and it just blew my mind reading about it all, and then kind of digging around the internet and finding all the old demos and stuff. What was that like, getting asked to be a part of that project, and did it really suck when it didn't work out? I mean, like, I don't know. I'd love to hear what.
Yeah, I wasn't really clear what it was either, and I'm still not clear what it was. Like, all I know is that Rivers asked me to sing on a song of his, and I said yes immediately because I had a crush on Rivers, and of course I'm going to sing on one of his songs, and he kind of explained his communication skills were not very good at the time, and so it was hard to get out of him like what is this for, and like, was he asking me to be in Weezer, and like what was happening? But I didn't really worry about it. I just sang the song. I did what he wanted, and I had fun, and he, I guess, started to explain to me that it was for an opera that he was writing, and that he had me in mind for the female role in one of the scenes, and he just had that he had that image of me being a character in the musical, and I thought it was wild. I thought that was kind of neat, and I just said yes. And then I heard it was supposed to be on Pinkerton, but then it ended up not being on it, but it was a B-side, but I didn't care about any of that. I just had fun singing and being in the studio with them, and I still remember it. It's like, man, I still remember like walking in that studio and seeing Pat on his drums, and Rivers telling me like how, like, which words to enunciate, and like is it called affectation?
Yeah.
like if I wasn't singing something that the way he was hearing it, he would like sing it to me, and then I would mimic him, and yeah, those were the days. So that was a lot of fun.
That's wild. Because even then, I guess that was around the time y'all were doing Retreat from the Sun, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I think so. I'm not good with timetables.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, and I absolutely love that album too. It's still one of my, I still listen to it regularly. But it really, that was the one to me when y'all really came together as like the full vision had been realized. That was just my opinion of it. But then y'all just went away right after that. What happened? Was it just not fun anymore? Well,
no, with bands, it's some of the it's hard. It's like there's a little bit of dysfunction going on. I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to speak for anyone, But
and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to.
I mean, we just kind of went our own directions. We had other things that we were, I guess, more. I don't know. It was. Let's see how to explain it.
Its time had come, maybe.
Yeah. So we did break up for a little while, and then we got back together, and then we broke up again. And so there was a lot of like breaking up and getting back together and breaking up, and I mean, I guess I can say this because it's regarding me. I was struggling a lot with some mental health issues, and that wasn't making it easy to collaborate. So I'd have to get well, and so I took time off. And I remember they did a tour without me. They went to Europe with the Foo Fighters, and then when they came back, I felt like I was ready to play again, and so I rejoined. And so yeah, like just personal stuff happens with each individual. And Tony was like, he was like the true adult in the band. Like he went and got a real job, like a 9-to-5 job. He got married, he had kids, and he had a lot of responsibilities. And so, but even so, he still played these reunion shows and kicked ass. And then Anna went and did a couple of solo records, and then I did some solo stuff. So
yeah, that was around the time too when I moved to Austin. Was right around when Bleed American came out, and I had no idea that you were part of that project. Or I mean, I guess you just played on the tour, right? You weren't actually on the record.
On Bleed American, I believe I sang on 6 tracks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
just some friends of mine went to go see him. They're like, "You'd never believe who's playing with Jimmy Eat World right now." That was crazy.
Funny.
That was right when they got huge.
Yeah, and I was working a really boring, horrible. I worked at a dub. It was called Lightning Dubs. It was like a video dubbing house where I would print labels and put them on videos all day. Oof. And I got a phone call from Jim while I was at work. He said, "How'd you like to quit your job?" And I said, "Absolutely yes." And he said, "Come on the road with us." So I that day left and then went on the road with them, and that was a lot of fun too. And it had its difficult moments, but it was very rewarding. Jim is the best. He's one of my favorite singers in the world, hands down. And I love singing with him. And I'm still in touch with him. We chat every now and then, and I still have dreams about him asking me to sing again on a record. So if you're listening, Jim, I'm available.
I think we can make that connection. Do you happen to remember any of the support acts on that tour? Because the Swords drummer, now Jimmy, he played in a band called Recover back in those days, and I know he opened for Jimmy Eat World for it's probably like 6 months of one of those tours in there. I just didn't know if you were in the band at the time or not.
I could have very well been in the band. It was a long time ago. Yeah. What was the name?
Recover.
That's a great name. I love that name.
They were one of those bands that just never, for no good reason, just never went anywhere. At a time when 100 other bands were opening for them, like My Chemical Romance and Taking Back Sunday and Coheed and Cambria, like they all opened for Recover and then went on to become like platinum selling acts. For whatever reason, Recover just never went off like that. But I always thought they were a fantastic band.
Yeah, well, that's I'm sure. I'm sure that I was playing in the band while they opened. Yeah.
But didn't y'all do like wasn't it like a tour with like Tenacious D or something like that too?
Yeah, we did a tour. It was Tenacious D, Jimmy World, and Weezer. Weezer was the headline.
Jeez.
And Tenacious D opened, and then Weezer played, and then wait a minute. Then Tenacious D played, and then Weezer played. If that made any sense, I hope that.
What a great tour, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I remember on that tour playing Rivers some of my solo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember his reaction. He was like, "Oh, Rachel, this is so pretty." And he was just always really supportive of my songs and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
If you're out there, Rivers.
Well, actually, Scott Schreiner was just on the show recently.
Oh,
so maybe we'll make that connection.
Oh, Scott's great.
Love that dude.
Scott's awesome. He's an amazing person. I love him.
He had some funny things to say. That's what
Yeah.
He's so very aggressive man. I don't know. It's funny like being in a band like Weezer. I think he's what brings that rough edge on a personal level anyway. But yeah, and then after that, it's just like I said, I was just going through your credits and just saw like just thing after thing. Like you made a country record with Neil Hamburger. That's wild.
Yeah, that was fun. Neil Hamburger is he's sort of like a family friend. He's
cool.
I've known him for a really long time, and again, it's like he's like, "Oh, will you sing on my record?" And I said, "Of course." So
hanging out with him backstage is hilarious because he's just a dude. You're just talking to him like a normal guy, only he's dressed like this.
I know he's
like,
just like this
lounge singer. But then when the switch happens, it's
the switch.
Hilarious. Yeah,
it's a switch. It's a big switch. Yeah, it's a trip. I love him.
I remember even back in the day, like he would. This is even still in the early days of kind of the internet sort of becoming just the only thing that anyone does all day long. It was when people would finally be able to like watch his jokes, like not see him. So then he was really upset because people like started calling out his punchlines before he could even get to him and stuff. It was a tough act to maintain.
Yeah.
Well, it's so rad that even all these years later and ups and downs and like crazy things that you're still making music. I've been a huge fan for a long time, and I'm really excited to see what else bLUSH is doing. Where can it be found exactly? You're on Bandcamp right now?
Oh yeah, we just started a Bandcamp page, and I should know this. I mean, it just happened, so I should know the link to send people. blush-hayden-pepper.bandcamp.com. If you could.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I want to make sure that people know exactly where to go find it. Is it okay if we play a track off that?
Oh my God, yes.
That'd be wonderful. I love playing music for people. Some people have a really hard time picking a song out the gates, but you guys only have one song. Well, yeah, I guess it was a single, wasn't it, with Breathe?
Yeah, we have
Guided by Voices cover.
Yeah, the Guided by Voices cover, and then an original that Chris and I worked on together called Breathe. So,
it's a beautiful song. It really is. I love the piano and like the drum work that goes into it and everything. Is it him that does all the music and you just kind of do the vocals after it? So you just like send him demos and he just kind of fleshes it all out for you?
Absolutely. You nailed it. Cool. That's what he does. Yeah. He'll add a bridge, or he'll change a little bit of, he'll do everything that I wish that I had done, and he's like a wizard, and well,
that's right. Well, we're gonna play it, and again, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the insight into to all those years that I miss so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And next, I guess you're in LA still?
Yes, I'm in LA. I'll be here for a while. I do have a dream of going over to London someday and recording there in Chris's studio. And so I have to figure out a way to make that happen because because it costs a lot of money to do that. So
I'm sure if you threw a Kickstarter together or
something, we talked about it.
Time.
We talked about it. So thank you for mentioning that, because maybe that's something that we're going to do.
Absolutely.
That's a big dream.
Hell yeah. Well, I think we're going to be rolling through LA in March, like early March. So if you feel like coming to a crazy rock and roll show, you're absolutely invited. And
thank you.
Again, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Breathe it out. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Breathe it in. Even when the sunlight's dim, it's funny how the love shines through. No matter how much we keep it in, it's funny how we hold it in. Breathe it out, breathe it in, breathe it out, breathe it in. Even when the air gets thin, it's funny how it weighs you down. Don't creep aside what might have been. It's funny, but it's all
So much for tuning into The Highway this week. A big shout out to Reverend Guitars, Railhammer Pickups, and Earthquaker Devices. If you liked what you heard, you can follow where you can follow, subscribe where you can subscribe, and if you want to go one step further, you can support us on Patreon at The Highway with Kyle Shutt. For a few bucks a month, you can help us keep this party going, get early access to next week's episode, and even get yourself a shout out.